This is just basically my general thoughts in regards to a product called CrowPi, which is basically meant to be a laptop case with a keyboard and with a mouse, which is apparently supposed to work. In my experience of testing it, the quality is very, very low. It doesn't actually work, so that's why I'm getting a refund. But if you actually look at this, the plastic is so weak quality, you can basically break it in seconds. Also, as well, one of the things that's really weird about this mouse is the way it's designed. I've never seen a mouse like that where you basically have such a tiny space for a battery to go inside. It makes you think you need the wrong battery because you're seeing so little space. And also as well, the white cover in regarding this laptop is just really, really tacky. It's one of the worst whites I've ever seen in any, well no, it is actually the worst white I've ever seen in any laptop. The quality of the whole is very, very bad. This is really an example of what happened when I tried to put it in, because the quality was so weak. When I put it in the right places it recommended, it basically fell apart, as you can see here. That basically should be, in case you don't know, more on that level rather than above it. The only thing I would say, I guess, which is potentially only really positive thing I could say about this sort of thing, is the mouse itself is quite good. The mouse itself seems okay, but I haven't, opened up all the rest of it. But from a trial error, it does seem pretty good. But to show you how ugly the computer looks as well, which I think might surprise a few people, is this. Look at the tiny size of this mouse. Now, just to show you my fingers compared to it, now I don't have gigantic hands, but my fingers are way too big for this mouse. I think the only really person this mouse would be suitable for would be someone who's either got very small hands, say a child, but I think any normal sized adult was going to greatly struggle to be able to use this mouse, because you can see there, one of my fingers can basically cover both things. If you're like that, your fingers can be hitting yourself all the time, making it uncomfortable. The button itself seems okay. I mean, I did like his sort of design for it, I thought it was alright. The mouse and the keyboard look to it sort of looks to me again pretty tacky. The spaces between it are quite small, because if you look at that for my two fingers, we're all basically touching each other. That itself will give you hand problems quite quickly if you're using that as your main keyboard. Because if you look at that, my fingers are basically touching. If he even slightly moves, we're all going to hit each other's fingers. The quality as a whole for me in this product is very pitiful. Because even as a thing which we could have said was a good feature, which they again screwed up, if we use this as an example, this is supposed to be apparently an adapter. Okay, that sounds cool, doesn't it? But this adapter itself, guess what? It only works on this computer. Anyone who knows anything about people who like to do work, computer, basically work and fixing computers, having the idea which is only going to work apparently and just on these computers is a very bad idea. It should in theory be able to work on any type of Raspberry Pi. When I tried it in two of my other Pis, it didn't work. I tried it in a Pi 4, I tried a Pi 3, it didn't work each time. Also as well, this part again is pretty shit, because to give you an example of something that's really bad here is this is such cheap low quality plastic. It's just so bad. I mean, to give you an example, this is just a random bottle of boost. This bottle here is probably stronger, and that's not a joke. I'm being serious. And also another big problem about this, which is kind of stupid, one of the things that can make Raspberry Pi quite cool is basically having access to all your USB ports. But if you have to take up one of the USBs in order to connect this together, if it did work, that itself is costing USB, which could be used for many different purposes. You may not always need to use four USBs in your Pi, or two, or three, whatever it may be, but if you have to rely purely on one of these to basically make it function, that again is a big technical flaw. Now, just to show, I hope you can see it okay, but this is actually shaking, and this is me not doing hard, this is just me doing it soft. And this thing is basically shaking. And even just like that, you can still see it shaking. It's a very, very badly designed computer. I mean, it could have been good if it was designed right, but to me, it's been basically made from proper trash quality from, I guess, China. Because everything here is just so damn cheap and tacky. Even the white cover is really ugly. Because to give you an example, just compare it one of my other computers, sorry, one of my other things is white, compare it to my space heater. My space heater itself is a much more attractive white. I've never seen a white cover on a computer look so tacky. I mean, it looks so tacky, it's actually hideous. Because, I mean, normally white is supposed to be a nice, clean, elegant color, but here it just looks like the worst possible cowering you could get. I mean, I don't know if they picked that on purpose or what, but it just looks such a hideous way. And I'm not normally someone that cares so much about cowers, but when you start to look at a cower, it just looks so tacky. Because I might give you another example, like for my heater. That cower's much nicer. My plug socket white's much nicer. My remote control for my heater is much nicer. And you just go back to this, and it's just like so hideous. I mean, I wouldn't actually be surprised in some cases for some people if I found out that some people get sore heads by looking at it, because it's just such a horrible cover of laptop. And that's why in general I wouldn't really recommend anyone getting anything from Pi Lite, because the quality's horrible. The quality's horrible. It's made from like worst plastic I've ever encountered. You can basically break it by pinging it if you really want to for some reason. I think anyone, if it didn't pay enough attention, would break it. The only maybe positive thing I could say about it is basically the plug. It's going to plug. It was just a trash product. Didn't work. Tried really hard with it. Tried work. And I have actually, in case you wonder my experience in Pis, to date I've had Raspberry 2s, I've had Raspberry 3s, I've had Raspberry 4s, and I'm about to get a Raspberry Pi. I'll get it probably some point this month. And I'm also going to get a better Raspberry case from a really cool guy from America. Hopefully she get here between like this week and next week, of course, depending how quick it takes from getting to ship to the UK. But in general, this is a horrible device. Really one of the worst laptops I've ever seen case-wise. Quality-wise, it's horrible. Worst mouse I've ever seen in my life. Unless you got micro hands or you're a child, in order to use anything on that mouse is horrible. The mouse as well is very weirdly designed, which I don't really like. In a sense, the basically, if in some cases, if you have too little space in the socket space for your basically your batteries to go in, that itself I have found can give issues in some. Maybe not here, but that's something I have found. So I wouldn't recommend a mouse either. The mouse itself looks pretty cheap and tacky. I did try it out on other things, and it wasn't really that good. It basically, when you click things, it sounds horrible. If you click it too much, you could probably break it. It's just such low quality things. I know we call it elite, but the point of a case as a whole or something like this is supposed to basically allow you or anyone you basically put it in, you screw it in, all that kind of stuff. Then in theory you have a functioning Raspberry Pi laptop. That's the idea of this product, which it failed miserably. I mean, you can, if you really want to, get cheaper stuff, or you can, if you really want to, order from, for example, purchases say from India or China. You can quite easily order laptop cases and build them yourself, which might actually turn out to be a better option in some cases. But in general, getting back to this sort of piece of crap, wouldn't recommend it. It's horrible. The quality is basically zero. The plastic is the worst I've ever encountered. The cover is horrible. The mouse is terrible. How you set it up is very badly thought up. To me, it's done by someone who's either A, never built a computer before, or B, they've hired the cheapest people we can find in the history of humanity for why it's turned into such a low quality product. You can find good quality cheap products, definitely, but in this case, CrowPi Lite comes up bottom, in my experience, for being the worst one I've ever encountered. So I would not recommend you get any CrowPis, and I wouldn't recommend CrowPi in general for anything else. They do more expensive ones for like, unless the price has changed, so like 350 or 200 to 220 or 250 in some cases, I wouldn't recommend them. Maybe they get slightly better if you pay more money, but for me, from a starter phase, it's horrible. Wouldn't recommend it. If you're into Pi stuff, go with anyone else. You can't get any worse in this firm. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks, and have a good week. See ya.